So Elizabeth, so just crazy way that we met her. Walking down the road one day, we decided, hey, this is like golden area. We kind of looked at some of the houses and we were like, these people, they can't be members. We also knew that like the ward that wasn't as strong in that area and that kind of thing. So we were like stoked. We're going to go track this area out. So we had prayed to know who to visit that day. And we're walking down the road and we see a guy, and our goal was just to talk to everybody. And so we start talking to him. He had like bare feet, and we found out that he was a member of the ward. Didn't look like a member at all, but he was like, yeah, like we were like, hey, well, is there anyone that you know that's not a member of the church in this area? He kind of like pointed in a general direction down that way, and we were like, all right, we're following it. You know, we're trusting that God's leading us to who we need to talk to. And so we go that direction. There's a bunch of houses, and we were like, I kind of pointed more towards this house. And so we knock on this house. First door we knock on, this lady comes out, Elizabeth, and she starts talking to us. And she's super friendly. But she says, you guys are Mormon missionaries, aren't we? We're like, oh, you guessed it. And then and she says to us, like, listen, you guys are cool. You can come eat in my house. You can come, like, just be friends with my family, but don't teach me at all. Like I'll feed you guys because my brother, he was a missionary, and he got fed on his mission and that kind of thing. But I don't want to hear anything. My family doesn't want to hear anything about the gospel. And so we were like, bummer deal, but we'll take what we can get. We went over for a meal, so we go over for a meal that night, and we just headed off with the family. And they were like, yeah, sure, you guys can share a spiritual thought. And so we shared a spiritual thought that night because that's what you do. And they were touched, and they said that we could come back another time and meet with them. And so we came back the next time, and it was nearing the time of conference. And so we're looking for people. We just like got a ton of tickets, and we're looking for people, investigators, to bring to conference. We're like, Elizabeth will be perfect. And so we invited her at the end of that to come to conference with us. And she was like, you know what? Like, my mom, she's a member of your church. She would love to go, and she had explained to us before that she was like, Elizabeth was super Baptist and that kind of thing, but her mom was a member of the church. And so she said, hey, I'll invite, if you can take my mom as well, I'll go to conference with you. She came to conference with us, and I remember just watching her face as she was listening to the prophets and the apostles speak. She was just in awe. And afterwards just came out with just like a super positive attitude, and we hadn't talked to her about it yet and that kind of thing, but we said, hey, like, let's go on a tour of the visitor center. And we went on a tour of the visitor center. If you've been to the visitor center in Salt Lake, you'll see there's right by the Christus, or outside of the Christus, there's almost like a family interactional video. And so you go like through this family story where the grandpa dies, and it kind of goes to the end, like families can be together forever through the temple. And with her Baptist background and that kind of thing, she just had no idea about the temple. And so she got to the end, and she was like in tears. And she said to us, she was like, almost angrily, she was like, so you telling me that if I don't go to the temple, I can't live with my family together like forever? And kind of not wanting to offend her, but like wanting to say the truth, we said respectfully, yeah, like if you're not sealed as a family in the temple, like these relationships that we have here can't last through the eternities. Like, that's how we do it. And some tears were shed, and it kind of like ended at that. Like, we just brought testimony, and we walked outside. And if you know that, you walk outside of that room, and it almost goes straight into the room of the Christus. So she walked outside first and walked right to the Christus, and we were standing behind her, and I just saw her walk to the statue of the Christus, and she knelt down, and she like touched his feet, and she was just crying at the feet of Christ. And later, she explained to us that the experience that she had in conference was that she was able to feel of the truthfulness of the gospel and feel of those different things. Though she didn't understand some of those feelings at first, it was confirmed to her as she went through the family interactional video. And the Spirit was able to testify to her at that point that families, this really was the way. And so she wanted to ask Heavenly Father, like, whether this was true. And as she walked outside, she saw Jesus Christ and knelt at his feet, and she felt as if he was really there. and she was able to talk to Heavenly Father and ask Him in the name of Christ if this, what she had been feeling, if it was not just her, but if it was Him. And He obviously confirmed that witness to her, and she was just crying and just had an incredible experience there. Kind of long story short, afterwards she was able to bring her niece and her nephew into the church, and they're still active and going to church. Her family has never been closer. They've all started, her husband has started going to church now, and he's quit some habits and that kind of thing, so that he can prepare to go to the temple with her. The kids are doing amazing. She is in fact the ward choir director, right? Get the Baptist lady to be the ward choir director. And so just amazing generational change. It wasn't just one person, but like that one person was able to affect family members, and kind of her conversion stories are able to affect a ton of people in the ward. And so just awesome to see the power that comes from learning about the gospel and its truths.